Blessings, 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 blessings be unto you. I am Mercedes Warwick, and welcome to the Mindfulness of Healing, an associate program of sacredkey.com. And key is spelled QI in case you want to visit the website. Please like this video, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon if you would like to be notified when I post a video. I don't have a set schedule, so it's always good to hit that notification button so you'll know when I've posted something. It seems that I am to still talk about my experiences at the beginning of the cancer diagnosis back in 2017. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is the second message I received while I was in the hospital. The first was just be here now, and I posted a video on that. And this message was really, I had said to guidance, I just want to be happy. And so guidance gave me the definition of happiness. And the definition of happiness from my guidance was satisfaction and contentment in each now moment. Satisfaction and contentment in each now moment. So I'm going to back up a little bit and tell you about a story, actually two, hopefully very quickly. A friend of mine came to me about a year prior to my being in the hospital and asked me to do a Reiki treatment on a young woman who was her son's baby's mama. I guess that's the term that they use these days. But anyway, she was the mother of her son's child. And she had been beaten to a pulp. It was horrible circumstances, tragic, and she was on the verge of death in every sense of the word. So I told my friend to come over and we would pray and do the Reiki. And in the middle of that Reiki session, and I have nothing, I have no recording, we have no notes, we were there to simply be of service, and there was no teaching involved, so I didn't have anything prepared. And what happened was, she was so close to the veil, and somehow I got in the middle of it. And what I mean, literally in the middle of it. What happened was, the young woman was here, her guides were here, they couldn't talk to each other directly, and I was translating literally for both of them. She would say something, I would give it to the guides would say something, I would give it to her. And the use of the word I is almost a misnomer, because literally I just became this almost tunnel, this tube, as this information's flowing back and forth. What I learned from that experience was that there are times that death isn't certain. I've always said that when it's my time to go, I will go. When it's your time, I've lived that way. I could tell you stories about my childhood and my mother getting a little, "You impertinent child," she would say. But I've always had this very deep knowing that when it's your time to go, you go. And what this was teaching me was, well, in some circumstances, it may not be your time to go. You're very close to the veil, and there's a negotiation that can happen. You know, maybe this is like a near-death experience as well. You know, you go off, you have these experiences, it's not your time, you come back into the body. So this negotiation's going back and forth, and so she said, basically, these are the things that I need to have in order to want to stay here, because her work was not done. There was something for her to still do or learn or be blessed with. And so it was kind of like done. I don't know if there's a thing as a spiritual handshake, but it was done. And she lived, and some of the things that she wanted to have happen started happening right away. It was just like boom, 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 boom. And I never kept up with this story after that. Occasionally I ask how she's doing, and you know, the children are doing wonderfully well. So that was one experience. The second experience that I had was that an old elder of the community who I didn't really have a relationship with. You know, I'd go to his house when there was a gathering, group gathering and things like that, but I never sat down and had a real heart-to-heart with him or anything like that. And I don't even think I knew he was sick, truthfully. And I was in the bathtub. I used to love to take bubble baths up to here. I would have bubbles up to here. It's in the bathtub in a bubble bath, and I heard, "Tell them to leave me the blank alone." And I was like, "Baba?" And he was like, "Tell them to leave me," you know, cuss word, "alone." I was like, "Okay, Baba, what's going on?" He says, "I'm trying to decide what I want to do." I got out of the bathtub. I called another elder in the community that I had, you know, a relationship with. I said, "What are you people doing? You know, what's going on? What are you doing for Baba? Or what's going on with Baba?" "Oh, we're planning on doing this. We're planning on doing that. You're planning on doing the next thing." And I said, "Well, I got a message." And he said, "Leave him alone. You're interfering, and he's trying to decide what to do." And he passed a couple of days later. He transitioned. Those two experiences led me to know that there are times when it's not just a clean passing. There is this space. I don't know how else to put it. So here I am laying in the hospital. On the chart it says grave condition. I did actually get a piece of paper in here somewhere that said grave condition. And I always laugh about that because I guess I was trying to decide if I was putting one foot in the grave and if I was going to go completely in. And I can just remember saying, "I'm okay with going." Matter of fact, in some ways I was probably even wishing that I was going because I was just so miserable. And then I remember getting in despair because I kind of realized where I was at, and I said, "Well, who's going to negotiate for me?" And my guidance came through, and I said, "I'll stay, but I want to be happy. If I can't be happy, I don't want to stay." You know, and believe me, bills, health, security. I mean, there was just so many other things that I could have been negotiating for, you know. But I can remember very clearly, if I can't be happy, I don't want to stay. And so my guidance came back and said, here's the definition of happiness. Happiness is satisfaction and contentment in each now moment. Happiness is satisfaction and contentment in each now moment. I wish I could tell you that I just gobbled that up, but what I did get was that, you know, I think the cliche is that you can choose to be happy, but for me, it wasn't a choice. For me, it felt more like, it was kind of like I was in the frequency of happiness, in the frequency of satisfaction, in the frequency of contentment, and then eventually I would say in each breath, because each now, for me, translated into each breath. I talked about in the other video about just literally just existing in the breath, just existing in the life force. And so those two experiences, just be here now, and happiness is satisfaction and contentment in each now moment, allowed me to be, think, consider a different space, a different subtlety. It was like a subtle frequency. And I will have had in the future, not during this time, when they said, stop thinking about God as a personality or a character. God is energy, frequency, and vibration. And you can feel God in the subtle frequencies, that you can feel this infinite intelligence, this infinite spaciousness, this infinite energy, this infinite force. There is no definition to God, no shape, no form. And so this was the beginning of me really beginning to understand, way differently than I had in the past, energy, frequency, and vibration. I'm going to bring it forward almost 4.5 years, because the sacred key soul ignitions came. The sacred soul ignitions came through. And one of them that came through was contentment. And as I'm sitting there, connecting to the frequency of contentment, I heard the words, thank you. And what happened was I began to understand, and I think this actually came sooner than the soul ignitions, because I began to say thank you for everything. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my dinner. Thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for taking me to the grocery store. Thank you that I woke up in the morning. Thank you that I could feel my body. Thank you that I could expel the fluid that had gathered in my body. Thank you that my body was healthy. Thank you that I understood and I could feel the life force in the flower. I could feel the life force in the flower within me. Thank you that I could see the sky was blue. Thank you that I could, thank you that I had a presence of mind. Thank you that I could feel the rays of the sun. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And it was not a fake it till you make it thank you. It was not a I'm going to write 10 things down. It was non-linear. So what I mean by that is it wasn't a process. It was a flowing. And I don't have a gratitude journal. I don't have a book where I've written down the 10 or 20 things that I was grateful for that day. It's a great process if that's how you can get to it. But this became the inflowing of gratitude. And then it was really interesting, satisfaction and contentment. If I could say thank you, but that was not the fullest expression of satisfaction, nor was it the fullest expression of contentment. If only, thank you, what if, how can, I want, thank you, but I want, thank you. So it became an expression of contentment, to be truly content and satisfied. I would also say satiated, especially since I've been in this home. The feeling of contentment has been a feeling of like when you eat a really good meal and it's just, you put something in your mouth and it's just like, oh, wow. That's the level of contentment that I have been feeling since I've moved into this house, and certain points along the way, but it's just been more extended and complete since I've been in this house. So then I was like, okay. The other day, my sister said to me, you were happy. You made a decision that no matter what, you were going to be happy. You were going to be happy having cancer. Cancer is a blessing. Cancer is a lesson. Cancer, in some ways, was my destiny to grow and expand in this way. And I say it that way, and that's why I don't fight. I don't fight cancer. There's no language. There's no warrior language. I barely accept the language of thriving and surviving. But there's no fight in this, because as a young child, I always had trouble with hormones. And if I were to have known what I know now back then, this would almost be this expression of cancer that I'm experiencing in my body. This expression of cancer that I'm experiencing in my body, that language is very important, was almost preordained or predestined. Because here I am, miserable and hurt, emotionally crippled. I mean, it was just some really trying times, and I'm not happy. And so what activated in my body as I'm wishing my way out? I mean, just to be very frank about it, I haven't talked about it publicly before, but I'm wishing my way out. So what activated in my body? The thing that I had, my weakest link, which was this hormonal imbalance. I've always had trouble with menstrual cycles, and I couldn't take the pill. Nothing I could do with female hormones and that whole system. That expressed itself as the experience of cancer. I've been happy through this experience. I remember even when I was going through, I'll tell you the story at one point about the chemo that I just recently had, but my guidance had said, the doctors prescribed 6 treatments. My guidance said it was going to be 8. I ended up taking 13. The short version of the story was the last 4 was out of guidance. I'll just leave it at that for now. There's much more to say about that. But I can remember those 8 treatments. I would go into a deep spiritual immersion. It was a spiritual experience. I took in what the chemo was doing beneficially, and I expelled what was not for me. I had some side effects, but very little and minimal. And I can remember going in, because those treatments were about 5 hours long. I remember going in saying, I'm going in to have a glorious chemotherapy session today. I wrote it somewhere. I think I might have done a video or I wrote it. And I said, people are going to think you have lost your mind, Mercedes. But I was in spiritual immersion when I went into chemo. And I was grateful when I went into chemo. I refused chemo when I probably should have had chemo, back at the beginning. And here we are 4.5 years later, and, things aren't going exactly as planned. So chemo was kind of a stopgap to getting me to finding a solution that was going to work for me. So happiness. The other thing I want to say about happiness, I don't know, about 3 years ago, the metaphysical community was talking about happiness is just temporary, and somebody cannot make you happy, and things cannot make you happy, and da-da-da. The frequency of happiness, satisfaction, and contentment. And so when I got to that in each now moment, so it is fleeting. It's this moment, it's this breath, it's this breath, it's this breath. And I got to the point where I could evaluate, I just shifted what happened. Two things. Happiness is a smile. So, if you're not smiling, you got something going on with your face and you've tensed up, what happened? And from the video the other day, is this worth my peace? I could feel it. You just fall out. And so when you consciously begin to be in a lifestyle, because the other thing was this I talk about my work or my practice, but this really is a lifestyle. It became a lifestyle. The way that I handled my cancer, there's so many different ways of handling it. And I found this group, and they're doing all these tests. I couldn't afford them. And then they're charting everything. I couldn't keep a checkbook. When you did it the old-fashioned way, you wrote down your ledger, in your ledger. I wasn't good at that. I mean, that would not have been a happy process for me, right? But I love food, so I could start researching different kinds of food and how I could eat it. And what I ended up finding out was I really didn't like cooking too much. Well, I couldn't. I have to give myself some grace. I was so weak I couldn't stand up. We ate that soup for, I don't know how long I ate that soup. We made vegetable soup and put it in the freezer. But but I love food. And then I found out, I kind of like the simple food. I like salads and vegetables with not too much sauce on it. And, so I start, and every now and again I get, potato chips for my thing. When I was pouting, we bring Mercedes some potato chips. And then all of a sudden the food changed. Here I am, 4 years into this, and all of a sudden the food changed. So things that I was doing in the past weren't supporting me in this moment. And I was very unhappy. Let me tell you something. It was a bunch of time of confusion and not understanding, and numbers are going up and cancer's growing and all the stuff is happening, and I'm confused. Right? I'm confused. So, time to stop. So I'm going to leave you with happiness is satisfaction and contentment in each now moment. And as we leave this today, I'm going to share with you the pure, blissful contentment of the inflowing that I received recently, as I have been in new medicine and feeling so much better than I have in many years. And one morning last week, I woke up with this prayer. So I will leave you with this prayer. God bless you. I don't say that often. That's really interesting, but God bless you. God bless you and keep you well and safe. And I pray that you know the divine intimately, and that the inspirations that come forward, you will have a knowing of your happiness, your peace, your contentment, and your satisfaction. So namaste. Close your eyes. Let's do this together. It's very, very simple. And again, it's the energy, the frequency, and the vibration. It's not just writing down the words, It's like feeling this, feeling in your heart. And you may adjust it any way you feel is pertinent and poignant for you. Shaking an exhalation. So happy to share this with you. As I breathe in, thank you. Exhale, I am. Breathe in, thank you. Amen. Breathe in, thank you. Exhale, I am. Breathe in, thank you. Amen. Breathe in, thank you. I am. Thank you. Amen. Breathe in, thank you. Exhale, I am. Breathe in, thank you. Amen. Blessings be unto you. Namaste.